All right, welcome back. So we've got this detail activity, which we're going to fix a couple things about. So right now it is successfully showing us the ID of the quote, which is all it's doing. And so on this side, we kind of have to do of create, read, update, delete. There's no create, right? So create was over here. That was the plus icon. But we do need to do read in this activity, update, and delete. And they're going to be pretty doable, so we might just knock them all out in this video. But you can imagine what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to edit it with a dialog. You're supposed to be able to delete it, and it goes away and closes that screen. And so that's what we're up to. Also, I wanted to change the name up here. Right now it says movie quote detail activity, but I just wanted to say movie quote singular. While not the most important, it's pretty easy to do that if I just go fix it in string. So when you made this activity, it made the string resource for you, and it called it the name of the class, which I don't really want users to see. I'll just make it say movie quote. Great. Now I'm going to go into the movie quote detail activity, and I'm going to start getting some work done. So in order to actually reference this thing, what we're going to need is we're going to need a reference that points to Firebase. Now there's two types of references. There's collection references, which is if we wanted a whole bunch of quotes, we made a collection reference before. And then there's actually individual document references. And so I want to make a document reference. I'll just call it docref. And I also want to save off the document snapshot as well, right? So this is the doc snapshot. So that's basically the movie quote that I'm getting, and then the reference to it in Firebase. And these two things are useful that I can use throughout my class. Great, so let's go see where I'm going to put some code that sets these things up. Well, right here I've got my temporary test. You can see I'm setting the text to be the doc ID. That was a temporary test. I'm done with that now. I'm getting ready to do real stuff. The doc ID is still useful, so I'll use that for something. The first thing I need to do is I need to set up where am I pointing to in Firebase. And so I need to actually get a reference to the right place. So it's in my collection for my collection path document, and I'm going to pass in this document ID. So I'm going to hit enter just so you can see this kind of all on the screen together. But what we're doing here is we're actually navigating into our Firebase Firestore. So we've got the top level here, and then we're kind of drilling down into the collection, and then we're drilling down into the document. By the way, this pattern going collection and document, you can keep going deeper. You can have like nested levels, but it always goes collection, document, collection, document. Does that make sense? All right, so now I've got a pointer to where I'm wanting to go in Firebase, and that'll be useful for for read, update, and delete. Let's go ahead and do read first. So we're going to say add snapshot listener. We're going to make a new event listener. And we're going to let Android Studio type, the bulk of the boilerplate code for us, right? So we're going to add a snapshot listener. It's going to have a private inner class called an event listener, and on event's going to come in. You're going to get one or two things. It's either going to be an exception or a document. To be honest, I haven't seen exceptions, but we should, at least try to handle them successfully. So if the exception is not null, we'll just print a warning. So we'll just say constant, oops, I got a couple of mistakes here. So we'll just print a warning. So we'll say our tag, we'll just say listen failed. That's what some of their examples say. So I'll just say listen failed. And then we'll return. I've never actually seen a message like that, but it's good to check. The next thing we're going to check is going to seem odd at first. We're going to check to make sure the document exists. So we're going to say if the document exists. And the reason we're checking for this is because we're going to be implementing delete. And as soon as you start messing with delete, there's a chance that your document won't exist. So like when you click delete, this message is going to get called again and the document's going to be missing. So it calls you to let you know it doesn't exist. So we're just going to check to make sure it exists. And then if it does exist, we're going to do things that are similar to this. We're going to set the quote text view, and then we're also going to set the movie text view. And we're going to set it to, maybe I'll just do it all in line here. So it's going to be a string. So I'm casting this thing to a string of our document snapshot dot get and this constants dot quote key. Obviously, I could have done that in a couple different lines, but I decided to just kind of do it all in one shot. Sometimes it's nice to do things in multiple lines, but sometimes it's nice to just get them done. The other thing I want to do is I want to also save off that document snapshot. That way I can use it in other places as well. So I've got them, the two values saved into those strings for the user. So a user can now see it. So if I run it now, we'll actually see a pretty significant change in that instead of showing just the document ID, it's going to show the quotes, which is a good change. So let's go ahead and let this guy load. And there it's up. So I'll just go and click on a quote. It says quote 3, movie 3. Some of my quotes are quite lousy here, but you can see that they're working. Great, so that is read, and obviously update and delete don't do anything yet. So we got to knock those two out. Let's go and do a check-in now. So we added kind of the heart of Firebase, and that's getting things from the cloud. We also fixed a string. So this is the R in RUD for the detail view. Cool. Let's go ahead and do let's do delete next. I know it's not in order, but delete is the next easiest. There's a to-do right here that says to-do, delete this quote and close this activity. Those are actually going to be pretty easy. So we've got the document ref, and we say delete, and that's kind of it. And so the nice thing about it is it's going to delete this document from Firebase, and then we also need to close this activity, and we'll say finish. Now when we call delete, it's going to call our snapshot listener as well, but the document won't exist at that time, and it'll just kind of silently do nothing. So delete is really just 2 lines of code, document ref.delete, and then finish. So not too bad of a change there. I'm not sure if it's up or not. I'll click it and see if it's up. Yeah, it must be up. So there's 4 is gone, and then there's 2 is gone as well. It's also kind of fun to watch them on the back end. So I'll bring my database back up, and you can see I've got quote 3 and quote 1 remaining. And if I were to take quote 3 and click on delete, you can see it gets removed from the back end as well. Great. So the only thing I need to do is edit, and then I'll be in good shape. So for edit, we're using the floating action button. Oh, I guess I should check in delete. It was easy. D in CRUD for the detail view, detail activity, sorry. Great, that one's easy. Next, let's find where the fab comes in at. And right now it shows a snack bar. And then let's go ahead and just call a function. We'll say show the edit dialog. Being very lazy, I'll create the method by hitting Alt-Enter. And here's a show edit dialog. The next thing is something I wouldn't normally recommend, but it just makes our life easier. And that's, we have a show add dialog over here. And we're going to copy it, and we're just going to paste it in here, and then we're going to make changes to it as needed. The reason I don't recommend that is because there's a concept in coding that says don't repeat yourself. It's called dry. And anytime you've got a lot of shared code, you should come up with a shared way to do it. So really what I should do is I should make another class called like my dialog class, such that I can put it in there and I can pass an argument in for whether it's an edit or delete. But to be honest, just too much trouble, right? So we're just going to copy it in and then make changes as we need. So it's going to use the same layout. The builder is still the same, setting view is the same, finding the views is still the same. If you think about what's different for an edit, one thing that's different is that you need to populate the text sum. So we need to say document snapshot dot get constants dot the key for the quote. It's yelling at you because it doesn't know that this is an object or a string, so we just need to cast it to a string. It's the only downside of using document snapshots is that there is a lot of casting, but that's okay. You know that it's a string, you're the one who wrote it. And then we'll do the same thing for the movie. So that is when we launch that dialog, it's going to be pre-populated with the existing code. The other thing that's different is when they hit OK, we want to update a quote and not create a new one. So this code right here creates a new one. We don't want to do that. Instead, we want to use our document reference and we want to update it to be this new map, which is just MQ. And so it turns out that we're overriding the quote, the movie, and the created. So it kind of feels like we're changing everything, but it actually still has the same ID. So just to kind of review, we copied in the add dialog, and then we only changed 3 lines. We added these 2 lines, and then instead of adding a new quote, we made it just be an update. So really 3 lines of code, which wasn't too bad. Let's see if it works before we brag about how easy it was. So mine's coming up here. I've only got 1 quote left. So let's go into this quote. I'll hit edit. Sure enough, it shows quote 1, movie 1. Oh, I don't have a title. I guess I really kind of want a title. Maybe I'll go add a title. Did I not have a title in my other one? I'm surprised. I'll add a title here, and then maybe I'll go add a title there as well. So I'll say builder.setTitle. Edit this quote. And then because I really should have had a title in the other one, I'm going to copy this here and come over here and I'll say add a quote. Alright, so title of my dialog added in both places. Loaded. So now add has a thing here, great. And then edit has a title there. Alright, so let's change this quote to I'll do everything is awesome. From the Lego movie. I don't know if you've seen the Lego movie, but they say that quote a lot. Great, so everything is awesome. Looks good. Let's see if it updated my backend successfully. Yeah, updated my backend successfully. The important thing with edit is that it didn't make a second quote. It just updated this one. So that seemed great. Let's just kind of test everything again because I think we just finished this app. So I'll put in I'll be back from the Terminator. So I made it, it's on top. I'm going to edit, I'll be back. So I come into here and says I'll be back from Terminator 2. It looks like it edited just fine. And then if I hit delete, I can see it goes away. So this thing is done. So there's my title for the add a quote. And then here's my dialog for editing. Which wasn't too bad. So this is the U in CRUD for the detail activity. All right, we just finished a very significant app. It pushes things up to the cloud. It pulls things down from the cloud. You've gone through CRUD. You've learned about launching different activities, which is really not too bad, but a very important skill. I will say that in this unit, all data is shared. Like it's like you have one global user in all the world, and all data is shared. You actually can make a project like this. It's just that you really only have one user, right? But you can make a project like that. But a real app, like something you would put on the store, you'd have to have some method of signing in so that you could have different users that don't just share all their data. All right, come back next time and we'll talk about the lab. See you then.